So picture this. It's a beautiful summer afternoon in Augusta, and we're at one of those upscale restaurants. You know the type. White tablecloths, soft jazz playing, champagne glasses catching the light. 50 of our closest friends and family have gathered to celebrate my daughter Amelia's college graduation. She's sitting right next to me, still wearing her graduation cap because she's just that proud. And honestly, so am I. My husband Gregory stands up with his champagne glass raised, and everyone gets quiet, expecting the usual proud father toast. 28 years of marriage, and I know this man's rhythms like I know my own heartbeat. Or at least, I thought I did. He clears his throat, and then, I've decided to start a new life without you. The words just hang there, suspended in the air like they don't know where to land. I can hear the exact moment when every fork stops moving, when every whispered conversation dies mid-sentence. 50 pairs of eyes dart between Gregory and me, waiting for the tears, the shouting, the dramatic exit that everyone expects from the scorned wife. Instead, I smile. Congratulations on your honesty. My name is Bianca Caldwell. I'm 54 years old, and until that very moment, I had been playing the role of devoted wife and mother absolutely perfectly. I put my own career dreams on hold to support Gregory through 3 business ventures, 2 career changes, and countless finding himself phases that somehow always required my patience and our savings. I raised our brilliant daughter, who sat frozen beside me, her expression shifting from confusion to horror as the reality sank in. And here's what made my stomach turn. From the corner of my eye, I could see her, Cassandra Wells, Gregory's much younger girlfriend, shifting uncomfortably at a back table where she sat with people I had considered friends for decades. The same friends who apparently knew about the affair but never thought to mention it to me over our weekly coffee dates. The same Cassandra who had attended our Christmas parties, who had once called me, for career advice. The betrayal wasn't just my husband's. It was an entire room full of people who had smiled in my face while watching my marriage crumble behind my back. But here's the thing they didn't know. None of them knew. I had been preparing for this moment for months. With practiced calm, and trust me, I had practiced, I reached into my handbag and pulled out a sealed cream-colored envelope. I placed it gently beside Gregory's plate, right next to his untouched salmon. "What's this?" he asked, and I could hear his triumphant expression starting to falter. "Something for you to read later." I turned to Amelia, whose face had gone so pale I worried she might faint. I kissed her cheek and squeezed her hand. "I am so proud of you, sweetheart. This day is still about your accomplishment. Don't you forget that." Then I stood, smoothed my dress, a lovely navy blue I'd bought specifically for this occasion, and addressed our stunned guests with the kind of composure that comes from having cried all your tears in private. "Please, enjoy your meal. I wish you all a lovely afternoon." And with that, I walked out, head held high, shoulders back, 50 pairs of eyes burning into my retreating figure. The heavy door swung shut behind me, cutting off the beginning of anxious murmurs. Outside, the Augusta summer heat hit me like a wall, that thick, humid Georgia heat that wraps around you like a wet blanket. But you know what? I welcomed it. For the first time in years, I felt like I could actually breathe. Behind me, I heard the restaurant door slam open, then Gregory's voice, and oh, how different it sounded now. Not confident anymore, high-pitched, frantic. "Bianca, what the hell is this? What have you done?" I kept walking toward my car, allowing myself a small, private smile. That envelope? It was just the beginning. The beginning of a revenge I had been planning with the precision of a military operation. Let me take you back 3 months, because this story really starts there, in the quiet of our home office at 2 in the morning. I had always been the practical one in our marriage. While Gregory dreamed big and took risks, I was the one maintaining the stability our family needed. I saved for Amelia's college education when Gregory invested unwisely in his friend's restaurant venture, a place that closed within 8 months, taking our investment with it. I worked extra hours as a finance manager at Truvanza Corp when his midlife crisis led him to quit his stable position to follow his passion, selling handcrafted furniture, a passion that lasted approximately 6 months before he got bored and moved on to the next thing. My own dreams? Opening a financial consultancy for women navigating major life changes? Always on hold. After Amelia graduates, I told myself. After Gregory finds stability. After. But that night 3 months ago, I couldn't sleep. Something had been nagging at me for weeks, a feeling I couldn't quite name. So I did what I always do when I'm anxious. I reviewed our finances. That's when I noticed them. Small discrepancies in our joint accounts. Transfers to an account I didn't recognize. To anyone else, they might have looked like nothing. But I had spent 20 years managing our family finances. These irregularities stood out to me like red flags waving in a hurricane. I could have confronted Gregory right then, woken him up, demanded answers, but something held me back. Call it intuition. Call it the growing distance between us that I'd been trying to ignore for the past year. Instead, I started quietly investigating. What I discovered was so much worse than I'd imagined. Gregory had been systematically moving our money to a separate account for over a year. He'd been taking Cassandra to expensive restaurants, the same restaurants where he told me reservations were impossible to get. He'd been purchasing jewelry, and not for me. He'd been looking at beachfront property in Savannah, property he'd never mentioned to his wife of 28 years, all while telling me we needed to tighten our belts for retirement. Then came the text messages. Gregory left his phone unlocked one evening while he showered, and I looked. I'm not proud of it, but I'd do it again in a heartbeat. The messages between him and Cassandra painted a picture that made my blood run cold. I can't wait to start our new life together. After the graduation, I'll finally be free. She has no idea about any of it. Bianca trusts me completely. That's her weakness. Her weakness. 28 years of love and loyalty, reduced to a weakness to be exploited. But here's what Gregory had forgotten, or maybe never fully understood. I had been a financial professional for 30 years. I understood money trails better than he understood his own reflection. I knew how to trace assets, document transactions, build an airtight case. And most importantly, I remembered the prenuptial agreement we signed 28 years ago. Back then, I'd had more family money than Gregory did. Irony of ironies, he was the one who insisted on the prenup to protect his future earnings, he said. What he apparently never bothered to read carefully was Section 12, the fidelity clause, a clause that remained in effect for the duration of the marriage and would prove to be his complete undoing. So while my husband plotted his escape with his younger girlfriend, imagining himself the mastermind of some grand romantic gesture, I was building my case. I consulted with the best divorce attorney in Augusta. I documented every hidden transfer, every suspicious purchase, every lie. I prepared everything, and I timed it perfectly. Gregory wanted to wait until after Amelia's graduation to make his announcement. He thought he was being considerate, not ruining her big day. What he didn't know was that I'd already filed for divorce that very morning. The papers were sitting in court records, waiting. The envelope I handed him at the restaurant, it contained copies of everything. The divorce filing, the evidence of his financial deception, and most importantly, that prenuptial agreement he insisted on so many years ago. He thought he was dropping a bomb on me. He had no idea I'd been defusing it for months. After leaving the restaurant, I drove straight to our home. a spacious colonial in Augusta's historic district we'd purchased 15 years ago. The house that Gregory had already promised to Cassandra, according to text messages he had no idea I'd seen. I parked in the driveway and walked inside, moving through rooms that looked exactly the same as they had that morning. Family photos lined the walls. My father's antique grandfather clock ticked steadily in the hallway. The worn leather couch where Gregory and I had once sat together, dreaming about our future, planning our lives. Everything looked the same, but everything had changed. I went upstairs to our bedroom closet and pushed past my dresses to the back corner. There they were, Gregory's suitcases, already packed, hidden away, ready for his planned departure tomorrow. I almost had to laugh. He'd always been meticulous about his clothing, but hopelessly careless about the things that actually mattered. My phone buzzed constantly. Messages from friends at the restaurant, full of shock and concern. Messages from Amelia, even from Gregory's sister Diana, who had flown in for the graduation. I ignored everyone except my daughter. "I'm okay," I texted her. "This isn't your burden to carry. Enjoy your graduation day. We'll talk tonight. I love you." I had protected Amelia from the truth for months. I didn't want to overshadow her final semester with family drama. She would probably be angry that I'd kept it from her, but I knew she'd understand eventually. My daughter had inherited my practicality along with her father's charisma, a powerful combination that had helped her graduate with honors. 3 hours later, I heard Gregory's car screech into the driveway. The front door slammed open so hard it hit the wall. "Bianca!" His voice echoed through the house like a thunderclap. "Where are you?" I was sitting in the living room, calmly reviewing documents on my laptop. I closed it as he stormed in, his face purple with rage, that cream-colored envelope crushed in his fist. "What is the meaning of this?" he demanded, shaking the papers at me. "You served me with divorce papers today of all days?" I looked up at him, really looked at this man I'd spent half my life with. "I thought it aligned nicely with your plans," I said, keeping my voice steady. "I'm simply helping facilitate the transition. You had no right. I had every right, just as you had every right to choose Cassandra. We all make choices, Gregory." His expression shifted then, becoming almost snug. "The prenup expired years ago. Any lawyer will tell you that." I allowed myself a small smile. Actually, it didn't. Section 12 specifically states that the fidelity clause remains in effect for the duration of the marriage. I paused, letting that sink in. Your lawyer should have explained that to you. Oh wait, you didn't consult one, did you? I watched the color drain from his face as reality crashed over him like a wave. That prenup he'd insisted on all those years ago, the one meant to protect his potential wealth, was about to cost him everything. The house, the vacation property in Savannah, his portion of our retirement accounts. His grand gesture at the restaurant had just become the most expensive announcement of his life. He collapsed onto the couch, suddenly looking much older than his 56 years. "You can't do this to me. We built this life together, and you chose to end it, though not quite in the way you planned." His phone buzzed in his pocket. He glanced at it and grimaced. "Problem?" I asked. "Cassandra. She's at the apartment already. She's moved her things in." "Ah, yes, the apartment you put in both your names, the lease you signed last month." I stood, gathering my purse and the overnight bag I'd packed earlier. That application was flagged for credit issues and never actually completed. The agent called our home phone to verify information. I paused at the door. I handled it myself. I walked out, leaving Gregory to face the first of many consequences. His perfectly planned new life was unraveling faster than he could process. Gregory's sister Diana lived in a charming bungalow near the university where she taught literature. When I arrived, she wrapped me in a fierce hug before I could even say hello. "I just heard from Amelia," she said, pulling me inside. "Are you okay?" Better than I expected, honestly. She led me to her kitchen, where a bottle of wine was already open and breathing. I never thought Gregory would make such a spectacle. The restaurant in front of everyone? He's completely lost his mind. I accepted the glass she poured. It was meant to humiliate me, a public rejection so I couldn't fight back without looking hysterical. Diana's face darkened. My brother always did have a flair for drama, but this goes beyond anything I thought him capable of. We settled in her sunroom, surrounded by potted plants and overflowing bookshelves. Diana had never married, preferring her independence and her academic pursuits. Over the years, I'd sometimes envied her freedom, the way she answered to no one, made decisions for herself alone. "What exactly did you put in that envelope?" she asked. Gregory called me ranting, but he wasn't making much sense. I explained everything: the divorce filing, the evidence of his financial deception, the prenuptial agreement that would leave him with far less than he'd planned. Diana actually laughed. The prenup! I remember when he insisted on it. Father had just given him that money for his first business, and he was so worried about protecting it. She shook her head. The irony is absolutely delicious. "You know," I said slowly, "you never told me how you first found out about the affair." Diana's expression shifted. "Christmas party. Last year. I saw them together. The way he looked at her, the way they touched when they thought no one was watching. I confronted him the next day. He promised me it was nothing, that he would end it." She took a long sip of wine. "When I realized he hadn't, I came to you." I nodded. Diana had been the one to confirm my suspicions, to help me understand what I was seeing. She'd chosen me, her sister-in-law, over her own brother. That loyalty meant more than I could express. My phone rang. Amelia. "Mom," she said immediately, her voice strained. "I'm coming over to Aunt Diana's." "Honey, you don't have to. I'm already on my way. Dad is telling everyone you've lost your mind, that you've been planning this for months out of spite. He's saying horrible things." Of course he was. Gregory had always been skilled at rewriting narratives, casting himself as the victim in any story. Let him talk. The truth will become clear soon enough. 20 minutes later, Amelia burst through Diana's front door, still wearing her graduation dress, her makeup smeared from crying. She fell into my arms like she used to as a child after a nightmare. "Why didn't you tell me?" she whispered against my shoulder. "I didn't want to ruin your final semester. You worked so hard for this day." She pulled back, wiping her eyes. "Well, Dad took care of ruining it anyway." We moved to the living room where I finally told her everything: the affair, the financial deceptions, the plans Gregory and Cassandra had made for their future together. I knew something was off with Dad. He's been different lately, distracted, always on his phone, but I never imagined. "None of us want to see these things in people we love," Diana said gently. My phone buzzed with a text from my attorney, Philip. The emergency filing had been approved. The accounts I'd identified were now frozen pending divorce proceedings. Gregory had access to enough for basic living expenses, but not nearly enough to follow through with his plans with Cassandra. I showed the message to Diana and Amelia. "Good," Amelia said firmly. "He deserves it." Her loyalty warmed me, but I wasn't naive about the situation. I reminded her, "He's still your father. Your relationship with him is separate from what's happening between us." She shook her head, her jaw set in that stubborn way I recognized as my own. "Maybe someday, but right now, I can't even look at him. He hugged me this morning and told me how proud he was, all while planning to blow up our family a few hours later." The doorbell rang, cutting through our conversation. Diana went to answer it, returning moments later with a troubled expression. "It's Gregory, and he's not alone." I steeled myself as Diana led them in. Gregory looked furious. His earlier desperation hardened into something colder, and behind him was Cassandra. She was 37, not exactly a trophy wife, but still 17 years younger than me. Shoulder-length blonde hair, expensive clothes, the kind of confidence that comes from never having faced real hardship. She shifted her weight from foot to foot, her eyes darting around the room like she was looking for an exit. "Bianca, you need to stop this insanity. unfreeze the accounts, we can discuss this like reasonable adults." Amelia rose to her feet, positioning herself slightly in front of me. "Maybe you should have tried being reasonable before announcing to everyone that you were leaving Mom." Gregory's eyes widened as if he'd just noticed her. "Amelia, this doesn't involve you." "Doesn't involve me? You blew up our family on my graduation day. How does that not involve me?" Cassandra touched Gregory's arm. "Greg, maybe we should go." He shook her off. "No, I'm not leaving until Bianca agrees to be rational." Diana folded her arms. "My sister-in-law seems to be the only rational person here. You created this mess, Gregory. Don't expect her to clean it up for you." I remained seated, watching it all unfold. For years, I'd been the peacemaker, the one who smoothed over conflicts, who kept everyone happy, who sacrificed my own needs for the sake of harmony. That role had exhausted me, and I had finally set it down. "The accounts will remain frozen until the preliminary hearing. That's in 3 days. The judge will determine appropriate asset division at that time." 3 days? Gregory sputtered. "What am I supposed to do for 3 days?" "You have your personal account, the one you've been funneling money into for the past year. That should be sufficient." Cassandra's head whipped toward Gregory. "You have a separate account? With how much in it?" Interesting. Clearly, Gregory hadn't been entirely forthcoming with his new girlfriend. He ignored her question, keeping his focus on me. "This is vindictive, Bianca. This isn't like you." "Perhaps you never really knew me, just as I apparently never really knew you." Amelia turned to Cassandra. "Did you know he was going to announce it like that at my graduation party?" Cassandra had the decency to look ashamed. I thought he was going to talk to your mother privately first. The announcement today? That was unexpected." Gregory shot her a look of betrayal. Cracks were already forming in their united front. "I think you both should leave," Diana said firmly. "You've upset Amelia enough for today." Amelia pleaded, trying a different approach. "Amelia, you understand that relationships change, don't you? Sometimes people grow apart." My daughter's face hardened in a way I'd never seen before. "What I understand is that you're a coward who couldn't even give Mom the dignity of a private conversation. What I understand is that you were stealing from our family while I was working 2 jobs to help pay for textbooks because you said money was tight." Gregory paled. "That's not how it was." "That's exactly how it was." She pointed toward the door. "Please leave, Dad. I can't even look at you right now." The silence stretched between them, heavy with years of trust now shattered. Finally, Gregory turned to go, Cassandra trailing behind him. At the door, he paused and looked back at me. "This isn't over, Bianca. I'll fight you on this." I met his gaze without flinching. "You're welcome to try." The preliminary hearing took place on a rainy Tuesday morning in a small courtroom that smelled of old paper and furniture polish. I arrived with my attorney, Philip, feeling strangely calm. Gregory came with a lawyer he'd hastily retained, some young associate from a firm that specialized in corporate law, not family matters. His poor choice of representation was yet another consequence of his rushed, arrogant planning. The judge was an older woman with sharp eyes behind reading glasses and absolutely no patience for dramatics. She reviewed the prenuptial agreement carefully, turning each page with deliberate slowness. "This document appears to be in order," she finally said, looking over her glasses at Gregory's attorney. "Do you contest its validity?" The young lawyer cleared his throat nervously. "Your Honor, we believe the agreement has effectively expired due to the length of time that has passed." The judge raised an eyebrow. "Section 18 clearly states that the duration is for the term of the marriage plus any legal proceedings resulting from its dissolution." She read aloud for emphasis. "There is no expiration date indicated." Gregory leaned forward, whispering urgently to his lawyer, who looked increasingly uncomfortable. "Furthermore, The judge continued, the evidence of systematic fund transfers appears to violate the financial disclosure requirements outlined in Section 23. She shuffled through more papers. I am ruling to maintain the freeze on joint accounts pending full financial discovery. Mr. Caldwell's personal account will remain accessible to him. The family home will remain in Mrs. Caldwell's possession during proceedings, as stipulated in the prenuptial agreement's infidelity clause. Gregory's face flushed dark red. "This is outrageous," he muttered, loud enough for everyone to hear. The judge fixed him with a look that could have frozen water. "Mr. Caldwell, I strongly suggest you review the agreement you signed more carefully. This court will reconvene in 30 days for the full hearing." As we left the courtroom, Gregory caught up with me in the hallway. "Bianca, please, we need to talk about this reasonably. 28 years together, that has to count for something." I stopped and looked at him. It counted for everything, until you decided it didn't. I walked away, leaving him standing alone in that marble corridor, the weight of his choices finally beginning to sink in. Over the next few weeks, I watched Gregory's carefully constructed world fall apart piece by piece. Spread quickly through our social circle. The image he'd cultivated for decades, successful businessman, devoted family man, pillar of the community, was now irreparably tarnished. Friends called me daily, some offering genuine support, others clearly fishing for gossip. I maintained my dignity, simply saying, "Gregory and I are separating. These things happen." The financial freeze meant Gregory couldn't follow through on any of the promises he'd made to Cassandra. The beachfront property they'd planned to purchase? Gone. The luxury car deposit? Canceled. Their dream of a glamorous new life together was evaporating before their eyes. 2 weeks after the hearing, Diana called me, barely containing her amusement. "Have you heard the latest? Cassandra moved out." "Already? That was fast." Apparently, she discovered that Gregory's business isn't doing nearly as well as he claimed. Those substantial savings he talked about, they don't actually exist. Diana laughed. She told her friend Jennifer that she didn't sign up to date a man with financial problems. I had to laugh too. He always was good at creating illusions. While Gregory's life crumbled, I was rebuilding mine. The financial security I'd always maintained, separate from our joint accounts, a safety net he'd never known about, gave me freedom he hadn't anticipated. I rented a small office space downtown and began setting up the consultancy I'd dreamed about for 20 years. I called it Caldwell Financial Transitions. My first clients were 2 women going through their own divorces, confused and scared about their financial futures. Word of mouth brought more. I specialized in helping women understand their finances during life's most challenging moments: divorce, widowhood, career changes. The work was immediately fulfilling in a way my corporate job never had been. Amelia, who'd accepted a position with a marketing firm in Charleston, called me regularly. "I'm so proud of you, Mom. You're helping people during their worst moments." I'm just doing what I wish someone had done for me, preparing women for whatever might come. Being needed for my expertise rather than just my caregiving, it was a revelation. The final divorce hearing fell on what would have been our 29th wedding anniversary, a fitting end to a chapter that had lasted nearly 3 decades. Gregory arrived looking haggard, thinner than before, with dark circles under his eyes. I'd heard his business was struggling without my financial support and guidance. Cassandra was long gone, apparently already dating some real estate developer from Savannah. Most of our mutual friends had distanced themselves after learning the full story of his deception. The judge upheld the prenuptial agreement in its entirety. Gregory left with his personal possessions, his struggling business, and whatever remained in his private account, which, after paying his attorney, was barely enough for a small apartment. I retained the house, my retirement accounts, and 70% of our joint investments, exactly as the prenup stipulated in cases of infidelity. The justice was poetic. The very document Gregory had insisted upon to protect himself had become his undoing. As we left the courtroom for the last time, he approached me. "I made a terrible mistake," he said quietly. For once, there was no anger in his voice, no accusation, just weariness. "Is there any chance we could—" "No," I interrupted, gentle but firm. "That door is closed." "I understand." And for once, I believed he actually did. "I hope you find happiness, Bianca. You deserve it." It was perhaps the first honest thing he'd said to me in years. 6 months later, Caldwell Financial Transitions was thriving. I'd moved from my tiny starter office to a proper space with room for the 2 associates I'd hired. We specialized in helping women secure their financial futures through life's biggest challenges. Every client who walked through my door reminded me of my own journey and reminded me why this work mattered. Amelia visited often, proud of what I'd built. "You know what's ironic," she said during one of her visits, curled up on my new office couch. "If Dad had just been honest from the beginning, he might have kept half of everything." I smiled, thinking about all the ways life surprises us. Sometimes people can't see beyond what they want in the moment. The woman who had defined herself as Gregory's wife and Amelia's mother had discovered a new identity: mentor, business owner, advocate. That envelope I handed Gregory at the restaurant, it hadn't just been my escape plan. It had been a key to a door I never knew existed. And behind it, I found something I never expected. Not just revenge, reinvention. In securing my financial future, I had reclaimed something far more valuable. I had reclaimed myself. Now hold on. Before you scroll away, let me ask you something. Did you feel that? That moment where your chest got tight and you thought, this could be me. That's why I tell these stories. Most people will watch this and do nothing. They'll feel something real, then forget it by tomorrow. But you're still here. That tells me something about you. So here's what I need. Hit subscribe. Not for me, for the next story you didn't know you needed to hear. Tap that like button. One tap might push this video to someone lying awake tonight. Someone who needs these words more than you know. And drop a comment, a real one. Tell me what this stirred up in you. I read every single one. One more thing. You know someone who needs to hear this. Right now, someone came to mind. Send it to them. Don't explain, just send it. The right story at the right moment, it changes everything. New stories every week. Raw, real, no sugarcoating. Subscribe now. I'll see you in the next one.